Just a second, get my tablet going over here. Get everything set up and ready to go. Appreciate your patience. There we go. So tonight I'm just going to be tying up some rigs for catfishing and whatever else comes up. Still getting my desk space straightened out a little bit. Still getting my and turn it off. Hey, Duke City, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you stopping in. Appreciate you stopping in. So I'm just gonna be tying up some rigs. I used a fair number of them while I was in Pensacola, and just kind of trying to figure out what it is I want to set up with. Right now, I'm just cleaning off some of these rigs that I had set up for testing back when I was working on the knot testing stuff. I'm not done with the knot testing videos by any stretch, but I took a break while I was on spring break because all my stuff was here, and I need to come up with some ideas of what to test next. So if anybody has any suggestions on what knots they would like to test, or line strength, etc., let me know, and I'll try to get him on the list. Oh, the view was absolutely amazing. I've got a sad as this sounds, I did a video of just the DJ or one of my action cameras on a selfie stick tied to the dock, and I'm going to cut out the parts where I wasn't fishing and use those, so that it's just a view is really all it is. Tell you what I would love to do one time when I'm down there is just go out on the beach and set up an action camera, or set up a camera. Doesn't necessarily need to be an action camera, of course. And just down the beach from where I'm actually going to be fishing. And all that we'll do is just watch and listen to the waves. Because it's inexplicable to people who don't get to see that. On the other hand, you know, Ashley and her family go down there a lot, and especially when she was growing up, they did. So she's, I don't want to say numb to it, but, you know, while I'm super excited every time we go, she's like, it's okay. I'm like, it's okay. What's wrong with you, lady? What is wrong with you? But it's a difference of perspectives and experiences, I guess. So I'm just getting some stuff tidied up here. Whoa, that was a little lower than I anticipated that going, but it still hasn't gone to where I need it to go. A second, get things tilted up here. Let's see. I'm still learning my new little desk apparatus. There we go. And I need to actually check what I can see over here. Don't need the volume. And probably want to figure out where the volume is on this thing and turn it down. Because we don't want to hear the echo, but I do want to see what you guys are seeing. Come on. We can do this all the way. All the way. Okay, so you can see a little bit about what's in front of me. That's we're getting there. Okay. Apologize. It's a little hard to see on the regular window because of the chat at the bottom. We go out there a couple of times a year usually. And I did something I said I wasn't going to do because, I lie. So the problem with the beaches in Pensacola and a lot of Florida, if not all of it, is the sand down there is a very fine sand. So if you use a cart of any kind, sorry, I'm still trying to get just a little better angle there. You really need those balloon tires on them because otherwise you're going to be dragging your cart through the sand, not pulling it. It's not rolling over the sand, I guess would be a better way of putting it. So, the problem is I can rent one of those carts for like $35 a day or $75 a week or something like that. But I can buy a cart for $200. And the downside to buying the cart is that I have to have somewhere to store it. But I have a problem spending 30% plus of the cost of a cart for one day, or a third of the price for a week. So the value side of me just can't hang with it. I was on Academy Sunday, and they were having a 20% off site-wide sale, and the beach cart was included with free shipping. So I got a beach cart. And as would be expected, I have the same issue that I knew I was going to have, and that's where do I put the darn thing? Fortunately, I live alone, but once Ashley and I combine households, it's going to be a bigger issue. I may just try to find a friend down in Florida and say, hey, so here's how this works. It stays in your garage. You can use it whenever you want, unless I'm in town. Then it's mine. So I don't know how well that works or not. I do not fish in the Great Lakes. I am in Memphis, Tennessee, and I go down to Pensacola, Florida 2 or 3 times a year and go fishing down there. I really don't have I've only been near a Great Lake once in my life. And if I had known how close I was going to be, I would have tried to sneak some fishing equipment on board the plane, but I was there for work anyway. So, yeah, the surf carts, they're aluminum, so they don't break, they don't fold up or break down like the little cheapy carts you get from like Academy or Walmart or those kind of things. But they just do not roll over the sand. And the one from Academy is not the best quality, but I don't really need the best for what I'm going to be doing, right? I mean, it'd be nice, but I mean, you can get carts for darn near $800, and that's without them being motorized. Now you can get some motorized carts for $9 or more, but anyway. Hey, NJ Guard. And then part of the instructions say, don't leave the carts loaded down when in storage because the wheels can get flat spots on them from the weight being in one place and not moving. I mean, no different than trailer tires on a boat and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so what I do when I rig these rigs up, whatever I'm working with at the time, is if I intend that I would possibly use a sinker slide with it, I put a sinker slide and a bead in there. Put a bead in there regardless. And then the rig tied up with the swivel on there. It's ready to go. And if I decide that I'm not going to use the sinker slide or the old rig, that I cut off. Still have the bead and stuff from, and I'll reuse that bead. So, but I've got them ready. Thank you, nobody really. I really do appreciate it. So, what I've been trying to do, come back here. Sorry, that was my tablet, so I can read what's going on. So I'll take these and I'll put them in a quart Ziploc bag and kind of keep them together by type. So that being pound rating of the line, size of the hook, and whether or not the hook is offset. Because if the hook is offset, as opposed to inline, there's some fish in saltwater I can't use them on. So typically for saltwater, I don't even take down the non-offset hooks, or the offset hooks, I should say, unless it's for pompano rigs and stuff like that. Because, no reason to go afoul of the law, right? Let's see, is that another? That is another one of those. Let me mark this down. And then these littler bags I got off of Amazon. They're 3x5 and they're 4 mil thick. The 2 mil thick I think would just be too thin. And I mean, it's not like the hooks can't protrude through with these, but it's much worse with 2 mil. So I try to just stay away from the 2 mil. A lot of people will use binders and pencil bags for school, etc. But I try to keep things as inexpensive as possible, and that way I can also write on these and reuse them a couple of times, and I don't know. Hey Troy, how you doing, my friend? Giant rigs and running my mouth. And what I don't understand. There we go. I hate how the chat will freeze. Not just for the host, but even, that was on my laptop or my tablet. Because I can't see. Troy, I hope you guys are doing well. Have you done any fishing down there lately? Because it's starting to get the season. I was hoping the pompano would have been running in Florida when I was down there, but they hadn't quite started yet. And I look at all the boats on the docks out there, and I'm like, man, if I lived down here and I had a boat on my dock, I would, do exactly what they are and wait for the perfect days. But in any case, it's beautiful down there. I wish I'd taken my kayak, but wishing one hand, and anyway, it's probably better that I didn't, to be honest. But with that surf cart, I think I'm gonna. I like surf fishing. What is the white plastic thing? Okay, so those are sinker slides, and what you do is, so on your main line, as it comes down from your rod, you run them through the sinker slide, preferably one that has a dead gum hole in the middle of it. There we go. And then you'll put on a bead to protect the knot, like so. And then you'll tie on your rig, your swivel, and then the leader. And you could put your swivel on these, or not your swivel, your sinker. And the good news about this, so it works like a Carolina rig, except you don't have the lead that can cut on your line a little bit, especially if you're in areas that have to use steel instead of lead. Sled is a fairly soft metal, steel not so much. And it slides up and down, basically makes a Carolina rig, and you can put whatever weight sinker you want on here, and you can change it out. So that's what those are. Now, if you want to just use a standard Carolina rig, use a standard Carolina rig. There's a lot of inventions to make things easier that maybe weren't hard to begin with. 80% chance of rain. Well, believe it or not, aside from the storm on Saturday, it did not rain at all while we were in Pensacola, which is very strange because when you're that close to the water, as you know, a storm can rain for, an hour or two, and then 30 minutes later, it looked like nothing ever happened. The showers just come in a lot more because of the amount of humidity in the air from having all the water right there that evaporates up. For some reason, every time I get on a live stream, my mustache tickles my mustache. See, and I was afraid I was not going to have enough of these hooks, and now I can't seem to run out of them. I had emptied the bag of them, so that's why I thought I was out, and then I keep finding another one on my desk. Now for my leaders, so, I'm trying to become more purposeful in creating my leaders. So that I'm creating what I need as opposed to a good mixture of things that I may not even use, as an example. So I've got 4 medium rods, 4 medium heavies, and 4 extra heavy for catfishing. Well, on my mediums, I don't need to be using 60-pound line, right? These particular hooks, these are from Academy, the H2OX series. But that's just what I had laying around. And I'm getting low on the number of swivels that I have. I had ordered some for delivery from our good friends at Walmart, and it was like $1.24 for 12 of the size 1, and Academy was like $1.99 for 12. Well, it turns out that it's not 12 that they have; it's a pack of 6. So that was not the good deal I thought it was going to be. So I returned those, and I've got an order in at Academy. I just have to go pick it up. And my knot strength testing has taught me a lot about knot strength. I now go figure. And also showed me that some of my hooks are absolute garbage. I had some that I was testing with 20-pound line, and they were bending almost straight, and not even spring, like spring steel will pop back to its normal shape. Now these just stayed straight. Like, okay. Probably got them from Temu. Man, is that some? I don't know. Biggest fish I've ever caught. That would have been blue cat, about 23 pounds, I think. I've caught a lot of fish above 10 pounds. I got a 5-pound bass, but I have not gone trophy catfishing in a while. And I'm hoping to get on the Mississippi River more this year and see if I can't find something like that. But there are 2 types of, there's many different types of catfishermen. But the trophy guys tend to only hang out in trophy waters, so they don't catch as many. And it's a lot of excitement when you get one on the line, but I don't know. I'd rather go for numbers I kind of want to do both, right? And then of course the park ponds and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I'm looking at channel cats and stuff. There's trophies aren't even in the option. Hey, Gen X, Leah, good to see you. But like last year, Jody took my girlfriend and I out on her boat when we were out in East Tennessee at the gathering, and Ashley pulled in a 26 pounder as her first catfish. Yeah. So I quickly became chopped liver. So I've got some of these H2OX 5/0s. And again, these are inlines. Yeah, so you know, you want a good in between. You know, you want the ability to catch the big ones if you can, and then you know also put in the numbers, because you know is a lot of it depends on who you're fishing for, right? If you're fishing for your watchers, you know, what are they wanting? If you're fishing for yourself and you don't care if you get a bite, but if you do get one, you want it to be a big one, then you know you go that route. So it's you know a little of everything. Let's see, 40-pound 5/0. And in case you see the S's on these, the S is for saltwater. Basically, it means it's inline circle hook, so it can be used either way. But that's how I differentiate whether I've got a non-offset circle hook or a circle hook, and that what that means is basically that the point is tilted one way or the other, or straight. Let's see, 5/0. It's probably more of a 40-pound. So what I have found is that the 40-pound Sufix Superior that I've been using for testing is actually considerably. I can't prove that it's thinner. I mean, I could, but it definitely feels more supple, or I don't know, easy to work with. Take your pick. I'm also starting to tie the egg loop knot. And what the egg loop knot is it's just like the no knot snell. You put the line through the front of the hook, you tag in, you bring it down, and you roll it around. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many times you feel like it. Then you run the tag in, or the standing end, back through like you normally would. Then you take the standing end and you hold it against the hook shank with the tag end, and then you wrap 3 or 4 more times, and you hold all that, and then you pull the standing end through, and you try to make sure that everything stays hooked together nicely. And I missed one little piece there. This doesn't actually matter, but it didn't go around this. It went around, or didn't go around the tag end one time. Okay, so what that does for you, first off, you pull it tight, and you can cut your tag end super short, or you can actually cut it short right before you do the wraps for the egg loop part. And this is made for, you can put an egg in there, or a chicken liver or whatever, but it keeps the knot from coming apart, because those last few wraps you did the standing end as well, so it doesn't it can't unravel like the no knot snell can. Hey, Keeter, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, Muddy River catfishing is a legend. Chris is yeah, he's a legend. He is an OG of YouTube catfishing, and what I don't understand is what has happened to him. It's like he's gone into hiatus. And I don't like that. Because Chris is a really good guy he's very personable, he's very knowledgeable, he's fun to watch. He did come out with his own line of rods, and I believe he has discontinued those. But this was before everybody and their brother was making catfish rods, because, there wasn't a lot of catfish specific rods available back then. Because catfishermen were not looked at as a good revenue source. All the money was being pumped into bass fishing and crappie fishing, and catfishing was looked at as something the country bumpkins with no money do. And Chris saw an opportunity there and provided catfish specific rods, which was really cool. Since then, of course, the market has gotten, I don't want to say saturated, but saturated, because it really has. I mean, everybody and their brother is making catfish rods these days. And that's not to say that there aren't good rods out there. It's not to say that when I say everybody and their brother is making them, that doesn't mean they're bad rods at all. There's some really good quality stuff out there. It's just that the landscape has become incredibly more competitive. Hey, Rena. I don't know what any of that means because I can't read that anything. Kind of almost sounds AI generated. But I mean, Chris is definitely an asset to the catfish community. And I hate that he has found better things to do with his time. To me, he's kind of like fishing and stuff. Keith puts out great videos. And I don't know how he doesn't put out more of them more often. He still puts out videos, and he still puts them out with regularity. And maybe it's just that he wants to make sure he's putting out good quality stuff instead of just anything at all. But his videos are fun to watch. He's very entertaining. The videos are informative and all that stuff, and I just wish he did more of them. That's where I'm kind of going. Hey, Rocket Kid. And that's how I feel about Chris. I wish Chris just did more videos. And I would have thought, before I started doing YouTube, that, he would make enough money doing it that it would be worth his while. And then I started doing YouTube and realized that, not a great way to become a billionaire. Unless you started with $1 billion. And then you get Luke from Catfish and Carp that has made it his living, so it can be done. The downside of these egg loop knots is it's hard to hold everything together. And well, I mean, I'm still learning the technique of getting all this in the right spots, so that probably doesn't help, because I just don't have enough experience with them. But one of my viewers was asking about the egg loop knot because of the strength videos I was doing. He's like, well, because it starts off as a no knot snell. So does it retain the strength that the no knot snell does? And so I ran a quick test, and it seemed to. And I'm like, I like that knot. That is cool. I'd heard about it. I just never had a use for it because it was for eggs, and I don't fish with eggs. Hey, Angie Fishing, good to see you. Good to see you. Got 14 people in here and 12 likes. Appreciate all of you here. I'm doing boring stuff, and I realize that. And part of that is I depend on you guys to liven things up and talk about what we want to talk about and all that kind of stuff. And poor Angie, she went live earlier today on her kayak and was having a really good time. And then a couple of guys started being guys, and they were moderators, so it was hard to shut them up. But, Angie's one of those people that she makes most people mods so that they can, click on each other's link and, subscribe to people and stuff. And I really appreciate it. It's, dude, I don't know. I'm really weird about that, right? So, I mean, there is no question that Angie is just absolutely adorable. But the same token, if she were my wife or my daughter or my mother, be kind of like, give her a break, guys. And the problem is, I'm sorry, Angie. I'm gonna say it. She does not know how cute she is, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible. So she doesn't understand, or doesn't. Maybe she does understand. It doesn't seem like she understands how quickly things can go sideways when guys start talking about how pretty you are. And I talk about her 7 foot, 300-pound, muscle-bound husband every now and then. I mean, he's not, but we don't need to tell anybody that, right? And I'm protective of people. I'm protective of all of my friends. I try to keep people from, I don't know. But then why do I behave the way I do, right? Yeah, I know. I get it. Double-edged sword. I guess because I know that I'm joking, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who aren't. So, but I was not the one being the overprotective brother today, much. But I am bad about that. They do, and and then it's where do you draw the line, right? That's what makes it. That's where things get a little, I guess, bent out of sorts. It's like, well, why is it okay for Billy Bob to say she's pretty, but then this guy that nobody's ever heard of comes in with the same stuff. You're like, dude, give it a rest. I think because we know where Billy Bob's heart is. Yeah, I have a friend at work that she is absolutely stunning, just sweet as can be. And honestly, she's somebody I would have never talked to except that I was working on a project with her, and we just got to talking. And I'm like, wow, she's absolutely positively normal. And at one point she sat right outside where I sit, and I would see all the guys come up and talk to her, and guys from other departments that have no reason to be over there. I just kind of took her under my wing and I'm like, look, if you need anything, let me know. Like I say, she's really sweet. She's not, we worked there together for a year before I ever said a word to her. Because, I knew that she's got to get a whole lot of unwanted attention. Plus, when a guy starts talking to a girl, everybody automatically wonders what's going on there, right? See, here's the problem, though. An old MILF, I know that you know what MILF stands for. So, I don't consider that a compliment. I mean, yeah. Well, and that's kind of why I try to be very cautious and careful and respectful and all that kind of stuff. Because if there's anything that the fishing community needs is more of everybody in it, right? And I don't want people to feel like they're not able to, do what they enjoy, and because of fear of people, like me. Hey, Tony D. Hey, Shark Guy 2. How you doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Angie, I love seeing you out there on the kayak. If you come to the gather, I don't know if you even want to talk about that, but if I bring my kayak to the gathering, and if you're there, I may try to borrow yours, because Ashley does not have one, and she has talked about wanting to get a pedal drive. And in Memphis, there are two brands of kayak dealers, and one of them's Old Town. But the problem is, we're not near water where you can just, go out the back of the paddle shop and go try one out. Anyway, there's a catfish well, that's the gathering. It's not really a catfish conference. It's more of a fishing get together. Oh yeah, we're planning to come. I have reservations for a campground, or a camp, whatever that thing is, campsite, and because Ashley likes to camp. We went there last year, and Jody took us out, and Ashley caught her first catfish, which was 26 pounds. So, you want to talk about a way to get a girl excited about catfishing? That's it. And if you've never had the opportunity to go fishing with Jody, she is awesome, because she acts like a guide. She baits the hooks. She throws the rods out. She tells you when the rod goes down. She's not, it's when there's a big takedown, it's very hard to not just go grab it. And she doesn't. She just go get it. There's fish on that one. And it was awesome, because Ashley is not a hook baiter, or, I'm not even sure she's a fish holder yet, but she likes to fish. She likes to catch fish. You got a baiter hook for her, all that kind of stuff. And I know that I'm making it sound like she's a girly girl, and she's really not. She just hasn't done it before. I mean, for goodness sake, she likes to go running in mud, and she likes to go running, and if it's muddy, she's still going. And likes to go camping. And my opinion of camping is, as long as there's indoor plumbing and air conditioning and no bugs, I'm good. Which means not camping. And Chattanooga is just a beautiful place. I mean, East Tennessee as a whole is a beautiful place, but years ago, I was helping deploy IPTV data centers for AT&T. And I would go to certain cities, and I go there for a week, setting up the hardware, installing the OS, and that kind of stuff. And then the rest of it was done remotely. Well, Chattanooga was one of the two cities that I visited that I would want to live in. The other was Corpus Christi, Texas. And, I went to other cities like Charlotte, went to Indianapolis, which I already knew better. I can't think of what other cities I went to. And for the most part, I was just there to work, right? I'm not I was a married guy at the time with kids, and I was not looking to. I wasn't, out doing nightlife and that kind of stuff. I was working and going back to the room and all that. I look like I would look like a high IT guy. That's fair. Um, well, see, the thing is, I've turned into a girly girl. When I was a kid, I mean, you've got two boys. All they do is use Levi's as their towel, and don't care how dirty and filthy they get. And I grew up on a farm. That was me. And I don't know. I used to go fishing with chicken livers all the time. For goodness sakes, I mean, if you talk about nasty, that's pretty nasty. And somewhere along the lines, I don't know, I sissified up a little bit. And I don't like being dirty. I don't, like one of the first things I do when I come in from fishing is just go wash my face and just get the crud off of it from the dirt and the wind and all that kind of stuff. Where I used to pour dirt over my head as a kid. I used to do a lot of stupid stuff as a kid. I mean, that's why they call us kids, right? And I grew up fishing. I mean, I would tell you I fished every day, and I probably came close to that. I lived out in the country. What anything else to do? But now it's like, if you keep the fish, you got to clean it. That's getting dirty again. So I'm a big fan of catch and release. How am I lying? Oh. Yeah. Not like that. I mean, it is, which is funny because, like I said, I grew up, doing greased pig contests and stuff like that. I mean, that's how redneck I am. We had skeet shooting as a part of our hunter safety education, which I do believe was taught in school. It was a different time. I used to be redneck. My neck used to be so red it wasn't even funny. My mom told me a story when I was a kid. So I was born in St. Louis and lived there for all of, a year of my life. Anyway, at some point, I think we were up there visiting, and I was still a little kid. And we were in a mall or something. And my mom went down the escalator. And I'm still standing at the top. And she's like, come on down. She's like, you've been on an escalator before. And she said, and I said in my most southern voice, but I've never been down before. She said, a couple of guys behind me picked me up, put me on the escalator, says, well, you're going down now, country boy. And that does sound like something I would do. Yeah, I used to, yeah. Now I have one of those very, what I consider to be a nondescript accent. Your Boston accent has a certain sound. MVP has the St. Louis accent down. There's a Chicago accent. There's, I mean, a lot of areas have accents, and then some just, I won't say they don't, but they don't have nearly the pronounced accent that other areas do. And once again, I have borked this up. Let me see if I can fix it. The no-nut cell is easier to not mess up, though, than the egg loop knot. Well, see, I don't know exactly what brown neck means. I mean, I know what it means in your context. I just don't know what it means past that. Um, yeah, I mean, I was a country boy. I think what happened was I started liking girls and realizing they were pretty. Because, as it turns out, most women are not looking for a pig pen as a boyfriend. Many man, I mean, I realize you're trolling. I realize that you put very little effort into that. At least I hope you did not put much effort into it at all, because it really, it was a waste of time. Um, if you want to hang out with us and chat, we can talk about anything, most anything. Um, but we do try to keep it at least somewhat remotely intelligent, just in case the Martians come in here. They're looking for intelligent life. We don't want them to think that, we talk about stupid stuff like cutting off your pinky toe to use it as bait. Because that, I mean, then you'd only catch two fish in your entire life, and that'd be no fun, right? Although, if you've looked at many pinky toes in your life, not that, I have an Only Feet subscription or anything, but most people's pinky toes are just not that cute. I know mine aren't. They look like little triangles of, I don't know what they look like. I mean, I don't know what they look like because I haven't seen my feet, and since I was a kid. I'm sure they're still down there. But in any case, and like I say, the thing is, I don't mind a good troll, but put some effort into it. If you want to hang out, if you want to find some new friends to hang out with, you want to find new things, new shows to watch and things to occupy your time. I mean, you're more than welcome here, man. Just, I don't understand the mindless trolling, the politics, the racism, the everything else. I don't get it. What are you hoping to accomplish? You want to get a rise out of somebody? I mean, is that really, is that the high point of your existence? Is, wow, I said something stupid on the internet? Because I hate to break it to you, but millions of people say really, really, really stupid shit on the internet every day. I know because I've said some really stupid shit on the internet. And I'm not saying I'm above saying stupid shit on the internet. Just saying that maybe, this ain't the right place for it. And it's kind of funny because some people have had good luck converting trolls into actual, good members of the catfish community, because, I guess they were looking for trouble and didn't find it fast enough, and people were nice to them and they didn't know what to do with it. And, because the catfish community is an amazing group of people. The fishing community in general, including the bass people, God bless their hearts and their wallets for the amount of money that they spend on lures. I used to be one. I couldn't be one in this day and age. I'm not casting 2 3/4 ounce 8-inch baits. I do have a couple, but I bought them for saltwater. Thought I could troll with them. But I find it more, I go fishing to relax, and sitting there doing chuck and wind all day isn't as relaxing as not chucking and winding all day. Yeah, the conversion is awesome. It's interesting when it happens. I don't know that I have quite the patience. Actually, kind of cut a guy off the knees in Angie's live earlier. He was talking about how he was taking a dump, watching the stream, and commenting, and I'm like, we didn't need to know that. And then he said something about how he was going to subscribe to me. I was like, bro, I don't need subscribers that bad. Okay, well, what do you want to start a conversation about? I mean, pinky toes as bait, probably not a great conversation starter, right? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about bass fishing? Talk about bass fishing. We talk about, chatterbaits and Ned rigs and gigantic glide baits. We can, talk about shoes and ships and sealing wax of cabbages and kings. You'd have to be really old to appreciate that. Hannah Park, how are you doing, dear? Not only have I been kayaking, I have rolled one over. And Angie's Fishing, who is in here, also, she went kayak fishing today, as a matter of fact. Did a live stream on it. And I saw a spotted bass and some red eye something or another bass. And she was having a jolly old time. I've got an Old Town Sportsman 106 powered by Minn Kota, which is just, I laugh at the name because it's so long. And for anybody, so Angie may find this interesting. Angie may have also ran off streaming going, God, Mike's an idiot. But we all knew that, so, it's on you. Old Town released some kayaks, I don't know, about a week ago. And one of them, so the Old Town Sportsman 106 powered by Minn Kota, also affectionately known as the 106 MK. So it has a mid-mount trolling motor similar to the autopilots, except that it only does forward and reverse. You steer it with the rudder, so it doesn't have spot lock, none of that kind of fun stuff. It's also cheaper. So the MSRP on it's $34.99. They took the same hull. They moved it into the Ocean Kayak line, which is typically a lower priced line of kayaks from Old Town or from Johnson Outdoors. And they called it the Sonata 106 MK. And they put 4 waterproof Bluetooth speakers and some interior lighting on there and raised the price up to $38.99 or $39. It went up $300 or $400. I don't get it. Don't get it at all. Well, Hannah, I'm not sure why you're retracting all your messages, but anyway, they also came out with the 120 Autopilot Pro, or something close to that. And that one's actually interesting because, like I say, with the Sonata, they basically reused the hull and put a few different add-ons to it. With the 120, I want to say 120 Pro. So the gunnels, they got thinner so they were fairly wide on the Autopilot, and they got thinner. They went to using single width track. What they had on there before was about this wide, but it was made out of plastic. It was still only a single track in the middle. But they went to aluminum track. They have a lot more track. They put a little piece of track up front by the front handle, or maybe it replaces the front handle, I forget. They put the seat on tracks, and it's the 120 PDL Pro. There we go. But they also put a 4-bolt pattern thingamajiggy in the front so that you could mount a motor, as opposed to the Autopilot where it already has the motor as part of it, which seemed kind of strange to me that they would do that, although it does meet some of the criteria what people have been asking for. People have been asking for, hey, I've got this Old Town Sportsman kayak, I've got the paddle version or the pedal version, and I want to go motorized, or I want to, can I put the motor where the pedal drive was? And the answer is still no, but they at least allow you to add it to the front. Now, I wish they had modified either the PDL drive or the trolling motor, the mid-mount trolling motor, so that they could fit the same hole. So you could actually go from one to the other if you wanted. And that makes me believe they're probably going to come out with a 132 that's similar. Now, they still, at this point, still show the 106 MK Sportsman and the regular Sportsman 120 PDL on their site. I don't know if these are replacements or not. One of the other things that they did, and I think Angie has the Ember color, which is the orange. But in this one, they came out with the colors are darker and they're new colors, but they don't have anything that's bright. And when I'm out on a kayak, I want that thing sticking out like a sore thumb, because I want the boaters to be able to see me. And safety is way more important to me than how pretty it is. So I was again a little disappointed. Not that they came out with new colors, but that they got rid of that ember color or anything like it. Now with the Sonata 106, they did come out with a, I don't know, fire color or something, maybe I forget. Anyway, it's more of a redder color than the orange, but it's still a high visibility color. And I just personally think that's important on a kayak, especially if I'm going to be out in the ocean with it. There are too many people that have boats that are too big. And, I've heard of kayakers getting hit or almost hit because the boater just wasn't paying attention. And I don't, I prefer not to get hit. Just the way I am. I'm also disappointed in, they sent out a bunch of freebies to influencers. And I don't like the level of detail that they go into in their discussions. Like, I want to know what the kayak looks like. I want to see, I want more details than the marketing materials. Okay, Duke City Fishing. I am 6'1" and almost 100 pounds heavier than you. Your kayak options are limited, but they do exist. And so it depends on what you want out of a kayak. Do you want a paddle? Do you want a pedal? Or do you want a motor? That's going to be question number one. And then, are you wanting to car top it? Or do you have a truck that you want to put it in the bed of? Or do you want to use, are you okay with getting a trailer and using it? Because that also changes things. Like I say, you are more limited because, if you're 110 pounds, your options are wide open. As you get bigger, then, you want the deck room, you want the foot room, you want, I get it. Hey, Fish Boy, good to see you. Appreciate you stopping in. We're just kind of hanging out, tying up some rigs and chatting right now about kayaks. We can change the direction to just about anything under the sun within reason. Another thing you have to watch out for, Duke City, is how the kayak company determines weight capacity. So I will give you an example. Old Town is really good about posting the weight capacity and the usable weight capacity. Some companies will just say, okay, so this kayak can hold as an example, 350 pounds. The kayak itself weighs 75. Well, that 350 pounds is now actually only 275 because they're figuring the weight of the kayak itself in what it can carry, which doesn't make any sense. How can it carry? How can it carry 350 pounds of 75 of it or itself? Fuzzy math. And not all companies do that. And you have to figure out which one it is. So like NuCanoe does not do that. Their weight capacity is what will fit on top of the kayak. That's you and your gear. Hey, Mrs. Thunderstruck. Good to see you. Lew's or Shimano? Well, that's a question, Jeremy. Between the two, I'm always going to tell you Shimano because Shimano is a higher quality brand. That does not mean that Lew's does not make good stuff. I have never had a compelling reason to use Lew's equipment, so I can't tell you that they're no good. I can tell you that Shimano has a better reputation. I can tell you that Shimano has a wider variety of price points. I can tell you that Shimano does a lot of things. But again, that doesn't make Lew's bad. It just, Shimano will make stuff from, darn near $20 up to well over $1,000. And Lew's does not do that. Lew's has a more narrow margin. So that's why, I say that's easy. Now, if you ask me Shimano or Daiwa or Shimano or Penn or Daiwa or Penn or something like that, where there's still that wide gap or wide variety, then it comes down, then the answer may change. I'm doing good, Julie. Glad to see you. I have been quite impressed with the amount of when I look at Justin's stuff on YouTube, when I see him go live, and I look at the number of people that are in there, number of thumbs up, dude is killing it. He may not, the money he gets from YouTube may not say so, but I mean, he's got a lot of viewers, and he is doing well, whether he knows it or not. Whether he can, because I'm sure, well, I know how I look at things. I'm like, well, it could always be better. But, when you look at how he does in comparison to other people, like an example, a bad example would be if Cindy and I were both live simultaneously. She's going to have the lion's share of viewers, and I know that. I mean, that's she's out of my league. I don't see that with Justin. I see him being above a lot of the other folks that are live. A lot of the other folks that are live that I subscribe to, right? I mean, whatever he's doing is working, right? There's no fishing stores in RU. You're an amateur at best. Walmart had a cool looking 75 Lew's combo outside of Shimano reel in the case that I could add to a ride. So combos are usually going to be a better value, but that does not mean it's better quality. So where I'm going with that is a lot of times the reel is what you're paying for and the rod is almost thrown in for free, but the rod is not going to be the best quality, right? Whereas, if you buy your rod and reel separately, you can build it for what you want it to be. If you want it to be your bass rig and you want it for crankbaits, for instance, you'll get a rod that suits your needs for crankbaiting. But if you get a combo, it's going to come with a rod that may or may not be good for crankbaiting. And most of the case, it's going to be a worm rod that to come with. Has been my experience, at least. Basically, I would search YouTube for the exact model of reel or the combo, as the case may be. You need to watch out for shills, and I'm going to get flack for that, and I don't care. Okay, I am sponsored by nobody. If I tell you I'm using, hey, I'm tying Suffolk Superior Mono. Do you know why I'm telling that? Because that's what I'm using. Not because I'm not going to tell you to go buy it. I'm not going to tell you how it's the greatest line since sliced bread. I get nothing out of saying what I'm using. If I don't like it, you will know. I think this is actually good mono, and for the price, I would encourage anyone to buy it if they were looking for mono. But I get nothing out of that. They don't send me free line. I have. So when people talk about how something is great and they never say anything negative, they're bought. Well, they're at least rented. Now on the other hand, I've got these Eagle Claw swivels. They're size 1. They're rated for 60 pounds, and they're disc barrel swivels. They're not ball bearing swivels. You can get 12 of them for $2. There's really anything negative to say about them, except that they're not ball bearing. They fit my needs, right? So, but you'll hear people go on and on and on and on and on and on about a rod or a reel, and you should go get this. It's the best in the market. Okay. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Because if it's a $300 reel, it's not the best in the market. Period. End of story. So just be very careful. Be careful who you listen to. That's the biggest thing. And I have nothing against people who are sponsored. I would love to be sponsored. But I'm not for rent. That's all I can tell you. Hey, Daniel, good to see you. I hope dinner was good. Kyler, how you doing? Going catfishing on a shallow lake this weekend. So what kind of catfish are going to be in there? Are you looking at blue cats, channel cats, or flatheads? What part of the country are you in? And I ask that because channel cats get bigger up north than they do down south in the U.S. Blue cats apparently don't let them get as big here. But you get, people like go up to Mendota in some northern state and catch 30-pound channel cats. You find a 30-pound channel cat in Memphis, it's a blue cat, and you identified it wrong. So that's why I asked. You said it's a shallow water lake. Is it a lake or is it a farm pond? Or if it's a public lake with a decent sized public lake, then you probably got a lot more fishing pressure than you will on a farm pond. And if you're going to be using cut bluegill for bait versus, or if you're using cut bait as opposed to like chicken livers and stuff, then that all comes into play. And I have managed to bork up this one too. Hate it when that happens. Tell me, I love this egg loop knot, but you just got to tie it right because I don't want any of my twists to be out of order. Beef backstrap. I should know what that is. Backloin, I think it is. Well, now that also depends, Duke. Are you talking Kentucky rig or Carolina rig? Or do you want to use a Santee rig, or, how are you going to be fishing and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I wish it was as simple of a question as, what do you use? Well, I mean, a good all around would be, 40-pound with a 5/0 circle hook. But, if you're going for 100-pound fish, maybe you want to use a bigger hook If you're using whole skipjack as bait, you definitely want to use a bigger hook. If you're going to be using chicken liver, maybe you want to use a smaller hook. If you're going for 2-pound blue catch or channel cast, maybe you want to use a smaller hook. There's a lot that goes into it. And then I tend to use a Carolina rig more than I'm going to use a Kentucky rig. Kentucky rig is usually, it's a double hook rig. And I have not, the kind of Kentucky rig that I would use if I were catfishing would be something like this, where I would then slide on another circle hook, try to keep it kind of in the same plane, and be for a single bait, right? I wouldn't be using, like this kind of double dropper rig. But then, in saltwater, I am going to use a double dropper rig for pompano. So, but, so with just basic information, because that's all I've heard so far. I haven't gone fishing in such a long time. Need to get renewed. Yeah. So, it depends on what the bottom's like, right? So if it's a really muddy bottom with a bunch of muck down there, then a Carolina rig is going to tend to keep your bait in the muck. A bunch of dead leaves and stuff down there. That you got 6 inches of garbage down there. Your bait may be kind of buried down in there because the Kentucky rig is going to be there. You get your sinker that's going to hold it down. Nothing's there to hold the bait up. Right, so the bait's just going to be hanging down there at the bottom. With a dropper loop, double dropper rig, I'm assuming you're using the sinker at the bottom of all that, or you're using like a 3-way rig or whatever. But that will help keep your bait higher in the water column and out of the muck. So that could definitely work. Plus, with a Kentucky rig, you can use twice the amount of bait. So if you do a double dropper where they're a foot apart, two distinct pieces of bait, then you get 2 distinct pieces of bait. Everybody speaks a lot about the Santee Cooper rig, and I'm afraid to admit to this, but I fell for it. And so I started going, well, if everybody else is using the Santee rig, then maybe I need to start using the Santee Cooper rig. So I started using the Santee Cooper rig. Sorry, I'm looking for some more baggies over here. Ooh, found those. Where are my baggies? Where are my baggies at? Oh, well, doesn't matter. So I did find some more slinker slides, thank goodness. But the Santee Cooper rig, for those who don't know, and I've got 4,000 things on my desk, but I don't have a float. So we're going to make this the float. Okay. So the Santee Cooper rig, you put your float down here by the hook, right? So you've got your weight, a bead, and the swivel, and then you got your rig. And you got the float here, so it's supposed to float it up off the bottom. Well, if you're dragging your bait, that's okay, right? Because you're moving. Right? But if you're not, then it does this, kind of like that. And then if you put it too far, then it just does this. Because your float's up here, but your bait's just kind of hanging and can be down as far as that. The other problem you have is if you don't keep your line tight, and you're on a sinker slide or a Carolina rig where the weight is not tied to the line, but floats freely on it, then it can just kind of go up. I've had my sinkers on top, or my floats on top of the water before, because I didn't have my line tight enough. The boat would move or whatever, and then the float would just, they'd be slacking the line, and the float would take it and move up. So there's that. Hey, BFA, good to see you. Good to see you, Stacy. Glad to have you, my friend. And then, with the the double dropper loop that I use for pompano, which is kind of the standard thing down there. You got a loop that comes, so you got your swivel up here. You got a loop that comes off. You get a hook here. It goes down some more, another loop that comes off, and then down below that is the sinker. So you've got, by virtue of the sinker being on the bottom and your line coming up, you've got the way the baits are off the bottom already without the use of necessarily a float, although the pompano rigs have floats on them. So you would think I'd catch more fish as much as I talk, right? Hey, Trapper, good to see you. You don't need to say hey a few times. I'm just a little slow sometimes. Appreciate you being in here. If you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know that you don't have better things to do with your life than watch me. And I would appreciate it. It makes other people get suckered into watching me as well. But what I have found is the traditional dropper loop, which is, you fold your line over like so, and you hold these pieces and you flip this thing over 6 half turns, and then you throw this one through the middle. I did some strength testing on that. Oh my God, it sucks. Horrible, horrible, horrible. To the point that I had some tied up for my trip to Florida, and I salvaged the hardware off of them and threw the whole rest of it away and went with a surgeon's loop. I call it the double surgeon's loop in my strength test because I also have gone as far as putting a third twist in there. But basically, you make you a loop, you double your line over, you go over, and you do an overhand knot, and then another overhand knot. That is the surgeon's loop, and you can make it as big or small as you want. Now, like I say, I call it the double because I have also tested what going through a third time will do. So that's on my knot strength test videos. Got a playlist on that, and I learned a lot. But like I say, I learned that the dropper loop knot sucks. Oh, it was horrible. So the 20-pound mono that I was using is Trilene Big Game. Now, it could be limited to the type of line. Okay, certain types of line, are going to perform better at certain things, right? So this was Trilene Big Game 20-pound. It breaks at about 28 pounds. I think I was getting less than 15 pounds of strength out of that knot before it popped. And it always popped at the knot. It didn't even get as far as, on those when you just use the little hitch knot, and, you get the doubled over end of the loop and you just throw it. I thought it'd break at the hitch. It only broke at the hitch like once or twice. The rest of it was, it was bad. Now, like I said, other lines may perform differently. I did play with the Suffix 40-pound, and I found that it had the same general issue. So, and I can't go out and buy 4,000 different types of line. So, I'm testing what I have. But I went to the surgeon's loop instead. The other thing that I found that I was surprised about, and I talk about this too much, I realize I am geeking out on this stuff big time. But I'm just so surprised at what I found. And that's why I geek out on it. I did not expect to have the results that I had. Everybody talks about how the Palomar knot is a 100% knot, and I think they're talking about 100% of the advertised line strength, not 100% of the actual line strength, because that's not the case. So like say in the case of that Big Game 20-pound, broke at about 28 pounds, the Palomar knot does not hold up to 28 pounds. It will break before the knot will break before the line does, every time, or at least most every time. And there's enough complexity. I know the Palomar knot is not a complex knot at all, but if you get some extra twists in there, it can compromise the strength of the knot. Trout Magnet 2-pound line. You funny boy. I actually have some of that SOS stuff. I think I've got it in 2-pound. Kind of old, but still. I've gone down as low as 20-pound. I think I may. I don't think I really did anything in 10-pound yet. But yeah, the crappie, the 4-pound is Skeeter, you lying little hoe. You ain't new here. I've watched your stuff and you've been here before, but thank you for coming. The other thing, so I talked about the Palomar nut, and I've always been a big fan of the Palomar nut. But what I found from my testing, the trilene knot is just a little bit stronger and almost impossible to screw up. So, if you get extra twist in there on the trilene knot, the only way you can screw up is if this part of the knot, if you don't have enough tag in and you pull it down too much and it kind of doubles over like this and you get this kind of goofiness, that can affect the integrity of the trilene knot. But otherwise, you're good. I mean, it's hard to screw up a trilene knot. As long as this part doesn't double over on itself, strong knot, and it's not really difficult to tie. I have found no instance in which the clinch knot is worth tying over the improved clinch knot, and I would take the trilene knot over any of them. The other thing that I found, and this is the one that boggled my tiny little mind, and it is small. I mean, like there's nothing up here. The No Knot Snell is almost as strong as the line. In a lot of cases, it didn't even break at the No Knot Snell. The line broke before the knot did. And I did not expect that. I was not prepared for that because the No Knot Snell is an absolute sissy knot. I mean, there's no knot in it, right? You just wrap it around, right? It's so simple. How could it possibly be the strongest? And I was looking at other Snell knots because I knew that I was giving up strength for ease and convenience, and I was not giving up anything. I'm looking for some more of my little baggies. Those are my baggies. I want the little baggies. Here, little baggy. There they are. I gotta have some more of these. I can't believe I'd be out of these yet. I thought something like the Uni Knot Snell or the Loop Snell or the blah, 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 what. I tried 3 or 4 different Snell knots because I'm not a fan of the No Knot Snell because, like I say, I can back out of. And I'll show everybody. Let me get some 60-pound because it's easier to see what I'm talking about. I'm going to get red doing it with this small of a hook, but that's okay. So, you run the line through the eye to the back, and you wrap it around a whole bunch of times for shirts and goggles, and cut it off, and put the line back through, back of the eye, and tight. And if you pull it really tight, then that does set it a little better, but it tends to want to come undone and do this. Now, I've never had one completely unravel, but and if it doesn't get, I mean, I pushed that one out, but usually it just loosens up. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. You look like you've given something up by doing that. So, when you pull it, and it just kind of, there you go, it does like that. And maybe even worse sometimes. And you're like, well, I can pull it tight and it's still fine. And then it does it again. And you're like, well, that's crap. So, and you have to have the standing end of the line available to make the knot, which the egg loop knot does not resolve this issue, but it does resolve this issue of the line being able to come undone. So anyway, like I said, the No Knot Snell has limitations, and I really thought that one of those was going to be strength, and it is not. And I actually did a video, pretty sure I posted it, on why the No Knot Snell is actually so strong, because once I figured out that it is strong, I started, backtracking on it to figure out why. Because it didn't make sense, because, how can the easiest knot to tie be, I mean, it's easier to tie than a granny knot. So it just didn't make sense to me. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the question that I never answered. That I just went sideways and round about. If I were going to make a very basic rig for catfishing in a lake that I knew nothing about and don't know what species you're going after, I would use probably, if you're looking at under 5 pound fish, I'd go 20 pound mono. You could go up to 30, you could go up to 40. 40 pound mono ought to be good for 20 pound fish easily. Because your drag is going to will give before the line should break. Now you do have the abrasion and that kind of stuff. So that's why you want to at least go double the weight of whatever you're trying to catch, because you've got the abrasion and that kind of stuff. And they do have those fun little teeth that, can, if it gets far enough down, that they can chew on some stuff. So there's that. And then as far as a hook, catfish have delusions of grandeur. I caught a catfish hardhead about, I don't know, it was probably maybe a pound on a piece of bait that was like this big. He couldn't get it in his mouth, but he did get the hook in his mouth. God bless his little heart. He was trying. So, you could use anything from a 2/0 hook to an 8/0 hook, depending on how big you're using. How much time I rigs to the main line? Granny knot. So my rigs, when I build them, I put a swivel on. So I got my hook, my leader, my swivel. So I tie the swivel on using the trailing knot because of what I said about normally in the past I would have used the improved clinch knot, or in some cases I would have used the Palomar knot and just pulled the whole rig through there. As long as it doesn't have bait on it, it's not so bad. But the trailing knot is significantly stronger than the improved clinch knot and is almost as easy to tie as the Palomar knot and has some pros to it, like I said, of not getting the line twisted the wrong way and compromising some of the strength of the knot. So that's where it is. Stacy, I do not make you tie my knot. Hurt. You deserve that. But that's, and of course I put on a sinker slide or the sinker directly, depending on if I'm using a sinker slide, and then these silicone beads. I get those from Temu. Make sure you pay attention to what size it is. I believe these are going to be like 9 or 10 millimeter. Let's see what this says. Fishing bead. Yeah, these might be 8s. But I have also ordered some stuff from Temu where the beads were absolutely hideously tiny. And I mean, it wasn't that they didn't, that they advertised incorrectly. It probably said it was a 2 millimeter bead, and I was like, well, how big's 2 millimeters? Yeah. Hey, if you look at a ruler, it helps. I was just too lazy. So, I hope that answered the question that you asked. Now, see, for anybody who wants to troll, talking about making my granny do it, now that's funny. See, that's a good troll. You don't have to talk about how he went on a date with your aunt and now you're going to be a father or any weird crap like that, because I'm close enough to Arkansas where, that's not even funny. It's reality. Sorry. Oh, Scotty. Okay. So this will only be funny to a few people. And I realize I'm going to hell for it. So Gabby and Allison, please forgive me. But their last name is Benoit. Now, if anybody needs to make some beads, just saying. again, going to hell. I was going to hell already, so it's nothing new. Scotty, you are an evil, evil, evil person. I'm afraid that Anthony is sitting there feeding half of this to you. God bless Anthony. Anyway. Oh, Lord. So Scotty is now officially, officially, the king of the Ohio River for skipjack. I mean, that's like coming in 100th place. That's like coming in 51st for the Miss America pageant. Just saying. You know, it's the Ohio River. I have nothing against the Ohio River. I'm not even sure of. I'm sure I've never fished it. I'm just being funny because I think I'm funny. Hey, Braden, what are we doing today? Well, I'm tying rigs and basically we're shooting the crap and picking on each other and being funny at other people's expenses or trying very hard. Word on the street is I'm the king. Scotty, he is the king. He is, yeah. Now, the mayor may not appreciate the new king in town. I don't know. I try not to get into the warlord issues. But anywho, basically, I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing, Braden. I am at 1,850 watch hours. I'm sorry, 2,850 watch hours. I am trying to get to 3,000, and I am going live anytime I feel like putting a shirt on that doesn't have pizza stains on it. Because I'm trying to get my watch hours. Because if I can get my watch hours, I'll get me partially monetized, and I could start getting super chats from absolutely no one. But it's a milestone that gets me closer to that 4,000 for full monetization, where YouTube will then start paying me for my incredible content that they have been using for free for so long. And I mean, it's overpriced at free, but that's not the point. So that's what I'm doing. So, I did go fishing last night live, and I did catch a bluegill. I mean, I knew where I was fishing was not going to be a productive spot. If I was lucky, I'd catch 2 or 3 small channels. But it's close to the house, and that's the important part. It was a beautiful day. I wanted to get out there. Oh, Ashley's not here. We don't live together. Living together is a sin. We would never sin. I mean, I'm going to hell, but I don't want to take her with me. All hail Skipjack Scotty. God, it was so funny last night. I think it was last night. Somebody went on Skipjack Cindy's Catfish Corner, her little Facebook group, and posted, we moderators we're cleaning up, getting rid of a bunch of users and all this, and we're blah 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 blahing. And if you would like to buy some merchandise, here's some shirts you can order. And it said something like Skipjack Cindy or something like that. It was funny. And I mean, it was very obvious that it was not, it was, and I've seen them do it with, like Old Town. They'll take the Old Town logo for the kayaks and here, get you an Old Town shirt. I'm like, that is plagiarism. But they even spelled Skipjack Cindy wrong. That was what was so funny about it. It's the convening with nature. It's being out there and enjoying the beauty that Mother Nature or the deity of your choice or whomever has provided. And in the case of a teacher, not having to do homework. You're not out on the streets jacking cars and beating up old women and taking their money or, being a criminal. That's why you fish. You fish because it's something that you enjoy. Um, it's the same reason that people crochet or read books. In both cases, I mean, in crocheting, you got a tangible asset out of it. In reading, you in theory have broadened your horizons, but everything is not about making money. It's not about building up a profession or a career. So yeah, it's just. I was sitting out there watching 4 rods not move and just enjoying hanging out with folks, talking to you guys, hanging out with Ashley. The rods did not matter. For those who are not familiar with Chunky Cats, he used to be on YouTube. He used to live stream all the time. He's now on TikTok because I think that's where he was making considerably better money. But when he first started, or when I first found him anyway, he would get out there at night on the banks of the Potomac. Didn't have a boat. Didn't need a boat. He had custom painted his rods so they would, with fluorescent paint, they looked great under black lights. And his personality was such that it was so fun. And I had talked to other friends from YouTube, and we talked about him very specifically. We're like, I don't, because I was like, he's got the secret sauce, and we all agreed. That's because nobody cares if he catches fish. That's great. If he doesn't catch a fish, no one cares, and that is talent. That is you've got people out there that if they didn't catch fish, nobody would watch them. And you've got people out there that if they don't ever catch a fish, nobody cares. Because it's about the person. I just thought it was interesting. And anyway. So like last night, I mean, yeah, I was trying to get watch hours. I admit that, but just hanging out, it didn't matter if I caught a fish. And if you go out fishing by yourself specifically, you're the only person that's going to know whether you caught fish or not. Hey, Hannah, I appreciate you stopping in. Thanks for being here. Welcome back anytime, all that fun stuff. If you don't mind hitting the like button before you leave, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here either way. And I hope to see you again in the future. Hey, Cindy, I was just talking about you. I'm sure I was saying nice things. I mean, I wouldn't say anything bad about you. Actually, I was kind of joking about the shirts that somebody was trying to sell for you. I thought it was funny. I mean, you're not the first person I've seen it happen to. It was just funny they misspelled your name. But somehow got Travis's in there. So they know enough to at least, they've researched enough to put, no BS catfishing on there. So, I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was cute. I mean, rude, but cute. If the two are really diametrically opposed, aren't they? Anyway. And Cindy, if you don't have Skipjack Cindy is a great person to pick up now. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good folks in here. Duke City Fishing has a channel. Good guy. Fun Fishing Adventures. Bank Fishing Adventures. And that's just the ones that I still have on my screen here. The catfish community is awesome. There's a lot of good people in here. What day do I do lives? So I go when I can in kind of fair weather. Cindy, now I will warn you, Henny, I don't know how old you are. If you're under 18, then maybe Cindy's lives are not the perfect place for you. Because people like me get in there and get a little goofy sometimes. But Cindy goes live on Tuesday night. She has a talk show. Wednesday night, she goes out fishing. Friday night, she goes fishing. And Sunday night, she goes fishing. and she does it like clockwork. She's doing an excellent job at doing what YouTube wants, and that's consistency. I do not have that same consistency. Um, but if you hit that notification bell, if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, I guess would be a better way of putting it, it will notify you whenever I go live. And you can come on in and hang out. And I'm hoping to get out in the kayak this weekend. I'm going to try to live stream. We'll see how that works. Live streaming from a kayak is probably not going to be nearly as easy as I would hope for it to be. And I just wrecked that knot. Because, step one is keeping the kayak upright. Step two is trying to fish. And then if I get all of that working, then I can worry about paying attention to chat and being live. So I've got to get better at tying this. I'm tying the egg loop knot for anybody who cares. If you don't care, then, well, shame on you for not caring. And I mean, it doesn't get raunchy in Cindy's lives. It's just, I would not send people under 18 there just because I'm sure you hear worse at school. But anyway. But I love Cindy to death. And certainly I'm not trying to detract from her in any way. Can I save this knot? No. Well, once it gets away from you, it gets away from you. Hey, dude, good to see you. Hey, good to see you, Charlie. Who needs pointers from Shannon? Scotty? Hey, Courtney, welcome in, welcome in. I'm just sitting here tying rigs and running my mouth and talking about anything that comes to mind. It can be about fishing, doesn't have to be. Definitely doesn't need to be about politics, though, because that's living, it's enough. Hey, Charlie, just having a good night, man. What fishing rod do you like, Courtney? You weren't paying attention, Scotty. Thank you, Scotty. You said something about taking pointers from Shannon on being a good human being or in fishing. And yeah. As being a good human is overrated as long as you're not, doing criminal stuff, then I don't care what you do with your life. The push button, so spin cast. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. I actually was really excited. It's been 20 years ago, but Zebco came out with the Omega series spin casters, which were like, at the time, they were like $50, which were, the first time I had seen a spin cast reel that was anything more than like the Zebco 33 or the 808. Zebco 33 is a fine reel. It's been around forever and ever and ever. And they're pretty good value. Yeah, that Fishing the Mid-South guy will in fact put you to sleep. It was more of a sleeper hold for you, Scotty, but whatever. I grew up fishing with Zebco 202s and 404s, and I can't tell you how many of those things I wore out as a kid. Oh, I loved fishing when I was a kid. Still like fishing. They really are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a spin cast reel. The only thing I have against them is the same thing I have against spinning reels, and that is that you have to change the plane of the retrieve. So you're cranking this way, but it's spinning this way. So you're changing axes, is what I'm trying to say. which is not as energy efficient as staying on the same axis, which is why I like bait casters more. And I will tell you that when I was in Pensacola, I was fishing with those two Alios 400 bait casters and the Spin Fisher 6500s from Penn, and I really enjoyed the bait casters a lot more. Thank you so much for subscribing, Courtney. I appreciate it. If you want to hit the notification bell, it'll let you know when I'm live again in case you're having trouble sleeping or just want to hang out and chat about anything under the sun. What kind of fishing do you do? Fisher's Hole said hi. Well, hi, Fisher's Hole. Yeah, I fish for panfish, bluegill, crappie, that kind of stuff, and catfish and saltwater 2 or 3 times a year. I've gone fishing for stocked trout before. Was not a big fan. Have a good night, Courtney. Appreciate you stopping in. And I don't have things like muskie or sauger around here that I know of. Went saltwater fishing and caught freaking gar. I'm still dumbstruck by that. I really shouldn't be because, there have been a lot of storms and freshwater feeds the bays, which then goes into the Gulf. So, where I was in the Intracoastal was highly brackish, but still I can definitely understand why the fish were there. Thanks for subscribing, Fisher's Hole. Yeah, just tying rigs. These were 40-pound 5/0. Was using the H2OX circle hooks from Academy. I'm not telling you the best hooks on the market. They're not. But they're pretty decent, reasonably sharp. They're not Gamakatsus by any stretch, but they are not the price of Gamakatsus either. I tend to be value-oriented. Value and cheap are not the same thing, right? An example, let me come up with one here. Sharpie. There are other markers on the market, right? Sharpie costs more. But you always know your Sharpie is going to work unless you left the cap off, then it's not going to work. And you know what you're getting with them, right? Doesn't mean that there's not something else on the market that will work as good or almost as good for a lower price. But you know what you're getting with that. So I consider a Sharpie to be a good value. Same with my Eagle Claw swivels. I mean, they're not the cheapest on the market. They're pretty darn close. Tell you what, for the price for the Academy on these, 12 of them and these are the size 1 or 1/0, I forget. 12 of them for basically right at $2. I looked at Amazon and I could get just a little bit cheaper per swivel, but they weren't even Eagle Claw brands. They were things like Dr. Fish or another brand I'd never even heard of. Dr. Fish, from what I hear, some of their stuff's pretty decent. But it was like, I'd rather just get them from Academy. Well, actually, I'd rather get them from Academy from Amazon for the same price, because then I don't have to leave the house because I don't like going to stores. And I also don't like paying for shipping. So there's that. So when I talk about my equipment, I like to buy things that are a good value. Trilene Big Game is a good value. Hey, Fat Cat, good to see you. Good to see you. Well, Scotty, here's the problem. Here's the difference. Courtney, no, I have to work tomorrow night. What have I got to do? Oh yeah, install some RAM in a server. Trilene Big Game is not the best line on the market, but it's a very good price, and it's a very decent line, right? I like my Daiwa Regal LTs at, like 60, 69 bucks a pop for the spinning reels. I think they're a good value. There are better spinning reels on the market, but it's where you get that. It's where price and performance give you the best, right? I don't even know how I got started on that. I was running my mouth about something. Sounds about right. Yeah, best bang for the buck. That's really what I'm going for. As a kid, I went through a number. I truly can't tell you how many Zebco 202s I wore out on things like bluegill and 2 or 3 pound catfish. But I didn't have any money, and they're $3 or $4 a piece. So it was what I could afford. If I'd gone up to a Zebco 33, it probably would have. I probably could have bought one Zebco 33, and it lasted me 4 or 5 times as long for maybe 2 or 3 times the price. But that's where your value comes in. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with any of this. The fact that I've still got 12 people watching blows my mind. For the people who do know me well, I am going to be uploading I'm trying to anyway. We'll see if it works. My entire Pensacola trip, start to finish. It's all the live streams together. It's going to be all in one big long one. It's going to be about 36 hours long. So I don't know if YouTube's going to allow that to happen or not. But I am going to try to put out a long video because, like I said, I'm at 2,850 hours for the year. I'm trying to get past that 3,000 mark. So if you guys could turn that on, leave it running overnight a couple times, I'd appreciate it. That will get me there. That would get me to that 3,000, and I'm getting to that point where I'm hitting critical mass, and it's a really good feeling. I did it last year around July. We went to Pensacola, and that was my best viewership ever. And this last week when I went, that was another thing. I was hoping to equal it, and it was the first few streams. I get like 300 or 400 people watching, and for vertical, that's pretty bad for multiple hours. My last 3 were like 10,000, 12,000, and 17,000 viewers. So I can't figure out what it is because I went live every day. And when we got back on Friday, I even came live from my desk. Granted, not the same scenario out there, not the beautiful surroundings. But I thought maybe it was just going live and that many times in a row. But it dropped back down to 300 or 400 people total. And so I don't know if it was the same thumbnail, because even one of those, like the 12,000 view video, the title was "Fishing the Mid-South has posted a new video." I forgot to even change the title. I wish I could figure it out, and of course, I think we all wish we could figure it out because we want to appeal to the most people, and I know Scotty did a lot of work to get up to his watch hours and just went live all the time, and respect the hustle. But I want to keep something that I want to get something going that is sustainable and feedable and all that stuff. And I'm just talking about stuff that nobody cares about. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I appreciate your support more than you will know. Just the fact that you've taken time out of your day to support me, to watch me yammer on about nothing at all that matters and tie rigs that nobody cares about. And just the talking with you guys has been awesome. Hey, Matt, thanks for coming in. He has this way of showing up right before I sign off. I think Matt, I think somebody texted me, "Hey, Matt, you can watch it now." He's about to go off. But just having you guys here I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you guys being here. So thanks for watching. We will see you guys next time. Be good to yourselves.